Boy, quite a bit to talk about on this next record. Lots of alternative songs on this fancy playlist. So far, I've talked about All American Rejects, Morning Wood, Nine Inch Nails on this fancy playlist, Cherry Monroe. Well, New Order, I guess, could be considered alternative, mainly a new wave dance band, but Switchfoot on this fancy playlist, and Weezer coming up, Franz Ferdinand coming up on this fancy playlist. Oh my goodness, and we got Audioslave at number 35. Doesn't Remind Me coming down. Chris Cornell just had, there's something about his voice. It's just, this record doesn't remind me. It's off their third album. I wrote down Out of Exile. Well, you got grunge, but you got some of that classic rock in there, 60s, 70s rock, and there's that blaring guitar that's kind of reminiscent of Girlfriend by Matthew Sweet, which came out in 1992. I heard a little bit of that in this record. Doesn't remind me. Listen to this song again on YouTube. It's been a while since I've heard this. Audioslave Doesn't Remind Me. Audioslave, a supergroup consisting of Chris Cornell, formerly of Soundgarden. He passed away earlier this year. 3 members of Rage Against the Machine. Tom Morello, either Tim or Jim Comerford, waiting to my chicken scratch, and Brad Wilk, drummer. These 3 guys, formerly of Rage Against the Machine. Here's what happened. Sac de la Roche, or Rocha, Sac de la Rocha, lead singer of Rage Against the Machine, very incendiary singer. I mean, he was just very political, angry, in your face, kind of like Trent Reznor, a little bit of Nine Inch Nails. But he called it quits in the late 90s, Rage Against the Machine, due to a breakdown in decision making or something. Well, anyway, the 3 remaining members of Rage Against the Machine, they started debuting singers. They decided to look for a new lead singer. Not necessarily a rapper. They did audition a guy from Cypress Hill, but it was Rick Rubin who suggested Chris Cornell. It was Rick Rubin who brought the 3 remaining members of Rage Against the Machine into group therapy. And they brought in Chris Cornell, and the chemistry clicked. When Chris Cornell got behind that microphone in the audition, it was there. You know it was there. It's something intangible. You can't feel it. I mean, you can't see it. You could hear it. You feel it. You feel it inside. It vibrates. The chemistry. Tom Morello said he said something like, "This is not just good. This is not something that's great, just great. This is transcendent." His voice is transcendent. And I hear it. I hear it in this song. I heard it in a solo thing that he did a couple of years ago that I really liked. I can't remember the name of the song right now, Chris Cornell. But it was Rick Rubin, the producer, who sort of brought together the concept of Audioslave, kind of like the way the Yardbirds evolved into Led Zeppelin, because Jimmy Page was in the Yardbirds. When the Yardbirds, the new Yardbirds, evolved into Led Zeppelin by 1968, 69. Something similar. Rick Rubin had a similar vision for Rage Against the Machine going into Audioslave. 2001, they started working on their first album as they were working out their management situation. 19 days of rehearsals, they wrote about 21 songs, I guess, which went on their first album. And they sold loads of records, 8 million sales, Audioslave. And one of the guys, the guy who mixed this album, Out of Exile, their third album, his name was Brendan O'Brien. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. He produced The Rising by Bruce Springsteen back in 2002. And produced by Rick Rubin, the album produced by Rick Rubin and mixed by Brendan O'Brien. I thought I had something else by Brendan O'Brien I wanted to mention to you, but I think that's it. Well, anyway, so here we go. There's just something compelling about Chris Cornell's voice. Very melodic record. Audioslave at number 35, Doesn't Remind Me. Fantasy Playlist, November 6, 2005.